Step into the gray stone of the hollow marketplace with me. I am the young virgin dragon, and today we're tearing up the usual maps. No brightly lit paths of self-improvement here. Instead, we're diving into a deeply grim, atmospheric explainer about a dark, philosophical fable that totally flips the traditional hero's journey on its head. Get ready, because we're going to challenge everything you think you know about growth, striving, and what it actually means to exist.
Okay, let's dive right into this chilling doctrine. Imagine the gargoyle of living fire sneering down at me from his perch, his voice just dripping with ancient contempt. He actually hissed at me, saying, "You cling to your myths of upward journeys. You imagine a hero who climbs mountains to seize a throne of light. But that is the ultimate deception, a cosmic mistake built on the theft of warmth from a void that simply wishes to sleep." Basically, he preaches a doctrine of absolute vacancy. To him, the universe doesn't want heroes, it literally just wants to sleep.
So, to really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at what the gargoyle is actually proposing, the inverted heroic journey. Usually, right, a hero goes out, fights a monster, gets the magic sword, and comes back with more than they started with. But the goal here isn't to become more. It's entirely a downward path. The ultimate objective is returning what was stolen from the endless quiet. It's not about building yourself up. It's about unraveling your own existence to reach a state of what the gargoyle calls final honesty.
Let's break this inverted journey down into its 4 structured acts, starting with Act 1, the Crucible of Quietude.
Now, to grasp this first step, think about the tragedy of the guardian of the roots, the very first of my kind. His surrender to the shadows was driven by a really profound cosmic force known as the Thanos drive. He started looking at his own emerald growth and actually saw it as a painful interruption. He felt the living friction of existence, that constant, exhausting need to strive and grow and survive. He didn't want power, he didn't want a throne of light, he just developed this deep, deep craving for inorganic calm, the tensionless peace of a world without movement.
And the Guardian executed this beautifully brutal descent into ontological negation through 4 specific steps, which are known as the Acts of the Honest Guest. First, he abandoned the roots, just totally ceasing the painful effort of growing new life. Second, he oxidized his own scales, literally trading the vibrant green of growth for the gray of dust. Third, he exhaled a merciful fog, which was this numbing pull that stripped the burden of striving from everyone around him. And finally, he welcomed the infinite zero.
The result of those 4 steps is just a haunting monument to negation. The Guardian eagerly traded his living flesh for the void until he became nothing more than a petrified ridge of lead. And the gargoyle views this as the ultimate triumph. Why? Well, because a landscape of stone is totally stripped of all hope, and therefore it's the only landscape that never lies. It is perfectly, finally honest, totally freed from the exhausting burden of striving. Which brings us right into Act 2, the stabilizing pulse. In the wake of the Guardian's petrification, my own vital energy emerged. I stabilized into the young verdant dragon, but man, I was immediately confronted by the cynical arbiter of the void himself, the gargoyle of living fire. In a classic journey, you face physical trials, right? But my trials were totally inverted. I wasn't fighting physical monsters. The void had already been successfully corrected into absolute stillness by the Guardian. My trial was purely philosophical. I had to fight to justify my very living friction, my warmth, against the backdrop of perfect, undisturbed quiet. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the gargoyle actively diminished the value of life. He looked down at my vibrant energy and hissed, "You, little flicker, are merely a messy interruption in the script of negation, a vain delay." Think about that. To him, my existence was nothing more than a temporary, arrogant theft from the void that would just inevitably reclaim me anyway.
This ideological clash hits its absolute peak in Act 3, the Marketplace Sermon.
The hollow marketplace was the true crucible of our confrontation. Surrounded by drifting little souls, the gargoyle opened his dreaded ledger of the borrowed debt. Speaking with his leaden tongue, he laid out his core thesis. The very act of breathing is not a gift, it's a liability. It is an arrogant debt. Every single time you draw breath, every time your heart beats, you are borrowing energy from the void. And, he argues, that debt can only be settled through the total unraveling of the self. To die, according to his ledger, is simply to balance the books.
But I ask you, my fellow focused learners walking this path with me, is breathing truly a liability? Is it really just a cosmic mistake? Or does the noisy, chaotic friction of life actually give the silence its shape and its meaning? This is the pivot point of our fable. Right here is where I refused to accept the gargoyle's thesis of death, and instead, I presented my antithesis of life.
And this brilliantly illustrates our stark, chiaroscuro battlefield. On one side, you've got the gargoyle's ink of negation, gray dust, leaden stillness, the absolute desire to erase. On the other side is my green script of potential, the verdant spark, vital energy, and chaotic becoming. These are two fundamentally opposing ways to write the story of reality.
I didn't fight back with traditional rage or violence. My defense was completely different. I fought back with the raw, vibrant resonance of my own existence. I produced the honest sound of chaotic becoming. I am not a theft, I roared back at him, my scales literally igniting with vital energy. My pulse is a declaration. I asserted fiercely that life isn't some crime against the universe. It's the very force that defines the void. Without the spark, guys, the darkness has no meaning.
Which finally brings us to the last act of our dialectic fable, Act 4, The Two Honest Guests.
We've reached the ultimate destination of the inverted journey, the landscape known as the infinite zero, and the realization of final honesty. Now listen, this isn't some triumphant victory where the light banishes the dark. Not at all. It is a synthesis of two inescapable truths. Final honesty is achieved only when the messy, vibrant light of life actually accepts the cynical, inevitable shadow of the void, and vice versa.
So the crucial point is that both sides are undeniably right. The gargoyle's truth holds firm. The void, the gray dust, the leaden stillness, that really is the truth of the end. Everything eventually returns to quiet. But the dragon's truth is equally undeniable. The vital energy, the beating heart, the chaotic becoming, that is the truth of the journey. You simply cannot have the journey without the pulse.
And honestly, this is the true boon of our explainer today. The journey doesn't end with one side destroying the other. It ends with a profound understanding that life and negation are forever bound together. As the text so beautifully describes it, we become a messy light and a cynical shadow, walking side by side across the lead horizon. We navigate the infinite zero together, forever balancing the scales of existence.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. The gargoyle might be right that the void waits for us all, but if the quiet is the truth of the end, isn't it the noisy, chaotic becoming, your own vibrant, messy spark that makes the journey actually worth taking in the first place? Don't let the shadow extinguish your friction. Embrace your green script of potential. Thanks for walking through this grim and beautiful fable with me. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.